Welcome everybody in the 7th and the last lesson of the French horn course for beginners. In this lesson I will be talking about practice routines. In the previous lessons, I have given you pieces of information and tips to help you improve certain aspects of horn playing. In this lesson, all of these things will come together and I will give you an insight of the big picture. How do you have to plan your practice schedule? The biggest reason why we have to keep practicing every day is to keep our facial muscles in shape. So these practice routines are very comparable to what you would do in a gym. You wouldn't be just lifting 100 kilos from the bench without any warming up. So the same also applies for playing a brass instrument. Warm-up is the most important part of the day. The first thing what you can do is start by stretching your body. The next thing, wake up the breathing system. After that you can do mouthpiece exercises to already warm up your facial muscles. And then the last one is you play warm-up exercises on the horn. Stretching, breathing warm-up exercises and mouthpiece exercises you can do without any break in between. Between mouthpiece exercises and playing on the horn, I would recommend you take a couple of minutes break. What happens next really greatly depends on how much you have played the day before. If you haven't practiced a lot, then I would recommend you do a full warm-up. So after mouthpiece exercises, you can continue with a little bit of flexibility. Then you can do a little bit of power exercises and in the end, articulation exercises. If you have played a lot the day before, I recommend you do a very short warm-up. In this case, the muscles have not really cooled down and it's just not necessary to warm them up so much. If you examine the practice routines in sports, there should be a small break in between every exercise that you do. The thing is that the muscles actually grow in the time that you are not practicing. When you practice, you put a certain strain on them. They are, in a sense, a bit damaged and they heal and grow in the break that you take afterwards. The worst possible thing that you can do is to practice on tired muscles. That is very counterproductive and would probably do more damage to you than not playing at all. After warm-up, you can take a longer break. I recommend you warm up in the morning and then you can go on with your daily routine. And half an hour or hour later, you can then continue with etudes or solo pieces or what you have to work on that day. You will feel that there will be a point when the muscles are not responding in the way that they did when you started practicing. That is usually an indication that you need to take a break. It can also be compared a bit with running. If you need to run 10 kilometers, you won't just go out the door and start sprinting till the end of the finish line. The first kilometer or two you should run in a slower tempo, then your legs and your body warms up, and then you feel that there is a moment when you get used to the strain and you can go faster. And the last half kilometer you can walk to cool down. This same principle also applies for playing. When you start the practice session, take it slow, then you can go for the heavier exercises or heavier pieces. Most people would probably stop practicing after the second block. If you really want to practice a lot, you can also add a third session, which is in the evening. And at the end, I recommend that you play a little bit of flexibility exercises in the mid or low range. This will ensure that the muscles will not be very stiff the next day. Another thing is the duration of the sessions. It really depends what you are used to. When you just start to play the horn, already playing 10 minutes is going to be difficult. So then probably the warm-up for you is going to be 10 minutes and then the next session is going to be 10 or 15 minutes extra. After practicing a while, you will be able to play for longer. Then the warm-up would be 10 minutes and the next session would be 20 minutes, for example. If you already have a certain level and you are used to playing a lot more, then these sessions can be 45 minutes or even an hour. I do not recommend that you practice more than an hour in one session. That is also not really good for your concentration. One more tip what I can give you is that if you practice a lot of exercises and pieces in a high range, then afterwards you should play flexibility exercises in the low range. That will help to prevent tension in your body, and it will also relax your facial muscles. If we scale up a bit and look at the practice sessions over several days, there are also a couple of rules. It really depends in what shape you are at the moment. If you haven't played a lot, then I would recommend you start very easy in the first day and gradually build up. If you get carried away a little bit and practice too much on a certain day, then the next day I recommend you play a lot more flexibility exercises and make the practice session in that day a lot shorter. If you practice a lot 2 days in a row, then I can guarantee you that in the third day you will have major problems. When you are preparing for a concert and you know that it's going to be, for example, on Saturday, then you have to do a couple of things to make sure that you are fresh in the day of the concert. Beginning of the week you can practice quite a lot. A couple of days before the concert, make sure you don't play too much. On the day of the concert, I would recommend that you warm up very carefully. If you're playing with an orchestra, there's quite often a general rehearsal before the concert. In these rehearsals, I strongly recommend that you don't play as loud as you need to and save your strength for the concert afterwards. That was it. I hope my tips will help you. This was the last lesson of the course. If you have any questions or you want some advice, don't hesitate to send me a message, or we can also arrange a lesson. Subscribe and stay tuned for further videos. Have a good day.